Hello and welcome. My name is Kubeir. Welcome to the channel. I'm a CICC licensed immigration consultant, and I'm also your favorite host for this episode that we do every week, every Saturday for Canadian Immigration Roundup, weekly Roundup. And I have another presentation for you, which will talk about the basics of whatever happened in the field of immigration over the last week. And we will then talk about some exciting things that have happened this week. And obviously, as we trod along, what all can we expect in the coming weeks, months ahead? Lots and lots of exciting changes on the horizon. So many things that are happening. I keep saying, if you are in the Canadian immigration field, if you are involved in this subject in any manner, there can never be a dull day. So without further ado, let's start with the session for this week. And I start with the quote of the week. Don't count the days, make the days count. This is such a great quote by Muhammad Ali. And you have to remember that in life, all you can do is your best. Okay, so don't sort of count the days, make the days count. Put your heart out there, lay it all on the line. And once you have done that, there is absolutely nothing that worrying about will do for you. You do your best, let the rest come to you as it may, with your head held high and your hopes for great things to come. Don't even waste 1 minute of your time wallowing in worries or sadness for things that you obviously cannot change. Focus on the positive, focus on what you can control, and let go of the things that you cannot control. Well, trust God, trust the universe, trust whatever higher power you believe in. Life may not go exactly the way you think it should, but trust that the better things are there and the good things are happening for you and waiting for you to happen. So this is Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. Stay up to date on Canadian immigration news and trends by joining us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, of course, YouTube. Starting with the PNP draws, on the 16th of June, Prince Edward Islands issued 136 invitations under the PEI, PNP, Prince Edward Islands, PNP. A total of 127 invitations were under the Labour and Express Entry streams, 9 invitations under the Business Impact. Now, I've said this before and I'm repeating this again. Guys, Prince Edward Islands is the smallest province in Canada. They have a very, very small immigration quota. At this point of time, I think about 12 to 1500. I don't know the exact number at this point of time, but approximately that's the quota. This province allows you to create your profile on their portal, on their website, so that if they find that profile to be of interest, they may invite them. However, because they have so many more people that they have to take care of within their own province, who are living there, who are working there, who have job offers, that they hardly will look outside the province or people who have no connection to the province to give them any invitations. So please beware of all those agents, consultants, lawyers, or anybody else out there who tells you that they will lodge your file in Prince Edward Islands, because trust me, that is not the pathway that you can rely upon. In all these years that I've been practicing, I've never heard of except one isolated case where Prince Edward Islands invited somebody who was outside the province with no connection, with no link to the province at all. Apart from that, they normally don't. So people who keep penning their hopes or pegging their hopes on the fact that they might get invited by PEI, you can most certainly create your profile. It's valid for 6 months on their portal. But expecting anything from them is you have a better chance of winning your lotto, I would say. Alberta has released the results of the draw that was held on the 16th of June. They invited 150 express entry candidates. As you can see, the numbers are quite low. They used to be inviting 200, 300 people, but this time it's only 150 express entry candidates, with scores as low as 306. They have also updated the inventory figures of their Alberta Advantage immigration program and the opportunity stream and the expression of interest, and they now have roughly 1,600 applications in the queue, and they are processing the applications that were received on the 10th of March. Again, Alberta is another province where a lot of people hope and pray that they get invited. Many people have gotten lucky. Many people have gotten invited from Alberta, but Alberta never publishes their criteria. They never ever announce what the criteria under which they are inviting people. So if you are one of those who's again hoping for a pathway from Alberta, again, you can create your express entry profile. You don't have to do anything specific for Alberta. If you get invited, great. If you don't, well, every time a draw happens, you start thinking the score is 306. Why didn't I get invited? Well, because they invited only 150 people. More than 306, there are nearly 100,000 people in the express entry pool, and almost 99,850 people did not get invited. And one of the reasons is because Alberta did not find those profiles to be of any interest to them, simply because either the knock code was not what they were looking for, or they had no connection to the province, they did not have any job offer, or they simply chose to choose only those profiles that they were specifically interested in. And we will never know what those criteria are because Alberta does not publish them. British Columbia, the usual suspect. On June 21, they have invited 125 candidates to apply for the provincial nominations, and they were invited through the 5 different BC PNP streams, and they targeted tech workers, health workers, and childcare workers in these different draws. Well, we did have an express entry draw. It was held on the 22nd of June. Hopefully, the last program-specific draw, which is specific only to the provinces. In this particular draw, they invited 636 candidates from the express entry pool with the lowest CRS score of 752. Now, the reason why I'm saying I hope this is the last is because we are pegging our hopes on the fact that there would be a all-program express entry draw soon. And that is what I'm talking about. Express entry all-program draws, or rather draw, is expected to resume on the 6th of July. At least that is the date that has been stated specifically by Sean Fraser, but he did mention it's a tentative date, that they're tentatively looking to resume the express entry draws, all-program draws, from the 6th of July. So I know there is a lot of excitement. I mean, I'm going to be dancing with joy for sure. So if you're on anywhere on social media, do connect with us on 6th of July. We will be talking to you live once the draws happen. And yes, we will be playing the drums, we will be singing, we will be dancing, and we will be sort of doing all kinds of crazy things because it is such a big moment, right? I mean, there's been a drought of these express entry draws, especially all program draws, since the 20th of December. Or was it 23rd of December? Sorry, 23rd of December 2020. So it's a year and a half now that has passed without any draws, for especially for federal skilled worker program candidates, and also for the CEC class since the 14th of September 2021. That's a drought for them as well. So when the draws do resume on the 6th of July, it has to be a momentous occasion. We have to celebrate, we have to sing, we have to dance because it's such a good thing. And I'd be so happy for people who do receive the invitations. The only thing is that obviously it's going to start with a very, very big number in terms of the in terms of the draw number score. If you look at the express entry score, pool distribution as of 20th of June, the numbers are scary there. Between 501 to 600, now there are 8,000 people, big number. And again, from 491 to 500, there is another 4,246 people. 481 to 490 is sitting with 7,845. That's roughly about, 8, 4, 12, 7, 19, about 20,000 people sitting in the express entry pool with scores of 481 and above. And also people should always keep in mind that this pool is dynamic. So when I'm saying the pool is dynamic, I mean people are continuously increasing their scores, improving their scores. A lot of people are studying French. Those additional French points are getting added. People who are in Canada are completing their 1 year of work experience. Those Canadian experience points are getting added. People who are in Canada are completing their studies. Okay, so their education points are getting added. A lot of them should be receiving, who have completed their courses in April and May, they will very soon be receiving their completion letters from their colleges. So they would then be getting those additional points for their education. A lot of people are now arriving in Canada, right? So they obviously will be giving sibling points to whoever their siblings are and waiting for the express entry. Plenty of options to improve your CRS score if you were ever thinking of that. I've just named you a few. And a lot of these people who are now looking and waiting to sort of get those additional points added, they will all be waiting. Now, we've had some success with some of our clients to get them approved LMIA job offers, which is also adding 50 points. So we've had clients who are at 430, 440, 450. There was a client who's at a score of 475 and also was able to secure a LMIA with an approved job offer, and bang, 50 points. Because what IRCC has done, what Canada has done, is that they've created so much of anxiety, they've created so much of uncertainty that nobody wants to take a chance anymore. They want to sort of, seal it and complete the whole thing as and when they can, instead of waiting for things to happen. So a lot of things are happening on those fronts as well. So those numbers that I'm talking to you about at this point of time, let me sort of make this bigger. 864, sorry, that's the PNP number, so we don't have to worry about that. 664, sorry. 501 to 600, 8,000 people. 491 to 500, 4,246 people. Now, this is what will decide what the scores are going to be. And by that, I mean is that our expectation from the draw size, earlier we didn't know, and then we came across this internal memo from IRCC, which indicated that once the draws will resume, they want to hold the draws similar to the pre-pandemic level. Now, the pre-pandemic levels, the draws were ranging between 3,200 to 3,900, but somewhere in between is what we are looking at, about an average of 3,600 invitations per draw. With 3,500, 3,600 invitations per draw, if you look at those numbers, between 501 and 600, you have 8,000 profiles. So you're looking at roughly two and a half draws to clear the scores before the scores will drop below 500. Then you have 4,246 candidates profiles sitting over there. So you're looking at about a 1.5 draw at that. So you're already at about 4 draws before the numbers will drop below 491. 4 draws gone, which basically means 2 months gone. So if the draws will happen in July, so July and August gone. So now only in September can you expect the draws to sort of come below 490. Now at 490, 481 to 490, you now have 7,845 people who are in, or rather express entry profiles who are sitting in the pool. Also, mind you, with each draw, yes, the pool empties up on the top level scores, but that doesn't mean in the following draws, in the following few days, people will not add up in the numbers above. So it's not like 501 to 600. Once the draws happen, there will be no more people. As I said, the pool is dynamic. More and more people will keep getting added, so that numbers will keep refreshing and the numbers will keep adding up. So there will always be few hundred people who will always be there in every single draw above 501, above 490, and those also need to be accounted for. So when you come to the 490 range, okay, already 4 draws have gone. Below 490, when the scores have to drop below 490, you're now looking at that big number of 7,845. As I just said, you're now looking at approximately say another 2 to 2.5 draws before it can clear out, effectively giving you between 6 and 7 draws before the scores should start creeping below 480. This, when you come to about 6 or 7 draws, you are now looking at July, August, September, October end. November is when you're looking at the scores to fall below 480. And from there on, it's a big number sitting at about 16,969. Now, that number will take some time to clear out. Not only will it take to clear out, but also keep in mind, as I keep repeating, that the pool is dynamic. So the numbers above 480 will keep creeping up. Those numbers will keep adding up there. So those also need to be taken account. So for the scores to drop below 480, you're looking towards the end of the year. And this is provided nothing else changes. So this is what I had for you for the express entry draws and how the pool breakdown is looking like. And then, of course, there is a great announcement for the postgraduate work permit extension. If you remember earlier when IRCC came out, or rather Sean Fraser came out and said, yes, in early July, they will be holding the express entry draws again. He also announced that they would be extending the postgraduate work permits for people whose work permits are expiring between 31st of January to December 31st. It basically and effectively left out thousands of people whose work permits were expiring or rather had expired between the period of September and January, right, of 2020 and sorry of 2021. And this obviously, put a lot of stress on those people who were hoping that IRCC is going to offer them some relief. After months and months, or rather weeks and weeks of deliberation and canvassing for all that information, a lot of people have been very active on social media and trying to persuade IRCC to relook at this. Thankfully, Sean Fraser yesterday tweeted saying that they have considered those requests, and now they have basically accounted for all postgraduate work permit holders whose work permits were expiring effective 20th of September and will expire until the 31st of December 2022. So everybody until 31st December 2022, if you are a postgraduate work permit holder, if your work permit is expiring or has expired, you will be given an opportunity to extend those work permits for another 18 months, which is great news because it will help so many people make sure that their work permits are intact and that they don't lose out on the opportunity for pathways to immigration, and also to sort of make sure that the status in Canada remains legal, because that is a requirement if you are filing for your permanent residence. You cannot be out of status, you cannot be on an illegal status if you're in Canada and filing for a permanent residence. So this gives a great relief. Yes, we were expecting that IRCC by now, which was mid-June, that is what they had also stated, that they would be announcing the criteria as to how people can apply for these postgraduate work permit extensions. Unfortunately, that has still not been announced. Sean Fraser has only said in the coming few weeks. Now, few weeks is where I get scared when they use words like these, which are so ambiguous. So in the coming few weeks, the criteria will be announced. People will be given the details as to how they can go about and extend their work permits. The issue here that I am seeing is, if you are here in Canada since September, you would have already lost your status. If you had applied for the extensions of your work permits extensions, as we had recommended earlier, those would have also been refused by now. We are now already 9-10 months after your original status expired. So basically, right now, you're already out of status. If you are out of status, please do not work. Do not go to work. Even after this announcement has been made, you are not in status. You are not in compliance of the IRPA. You cannot work. If you work, you are now working illegally. This work experience will not be counted, and you will only get into further trouble if you are caught by CBSA or RCMP. Okay, so please don't do that. Don't work if you are now out of status. Just wait for IRCC to announce the criteria and details, whereby you will then be able to restore your status. And after you have restored your status, your new work permit will be issued to you. Once you have received your new work permit, you can go back to work. I know it's difficult. I know it's problematic. I know it creates more stress. But if your work permits have expired, if you had applied for extension, even the extensions have been refused, you are now categorically out of status. If you're out of status, please do not go back to work. Please do not work. You will get into trouble for that. And that work experience will not be counted anyways, because this is invalid work experience. So please take care of that. Fingers crossed. As I said, I hope the announcements come through pretty quick and not in few weeks as they're indicating. And once you have the announcements, once you know what you need to do, apply for the extensions of your work permit, apply for restoration as well, because everybody whose status is already expired, you will be eligible to restore your status. And once you restore your status, your work permits will be issued and you can go back to working. So, but good news there. Don't you agree? I mean, for a lot of people who are quite anxious about the status. That is basically the presentation I had for you. Do connect with us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, of course, and we are also there on TikTok for some strange reason, but we are there on TikTok. So if you fancy TikTok as a platform, then please do connect with us there as well. That is the presentation out of the window. Now, I have a couple of other things to talk to you about. First one is, people who are not following us on Twitter, then, well, that's another reason you should, because we did share the news that Bill C-19 has received the royal assent. Now, I'm not sure how many of you do follow Bill C-19 or how many of you have been watching my previous videos, because we have been talking a lot about Bill C-19. Now, Bill C-19 is a financed, or rather, the bill was tabled by the finance minister, and this has a lot of components of the budget of Canada, which was tabled and for its approval. A small portion, a small component under Division 23 is to do with the changes to be made in IRPA, Immigration Refugee Protection Act. That is our area of interest, that very, very small section under Division 23, which is where we are most interested in. But that allows the immigration minister, that basically gives immigration minister authority to make categories within the express entry so that they can then pick and choose within those categories and make draws from within those categories. For example, because the bill is now already passed, it has received the royal assent. Immigration minister will now be able to identify, let's say, NOC based, specific NOC based categories within the express entry system. He will be able to identify categories based on where you wish to immigrate once you, sorry, where you wish to live or where you wish to reside once you come to Canada. He will be able to make categories based on whether you are an Anglophone or Francophone. He will be able to make categories based on the fact whether you have a job offer in Canada, you don't have a job offer in Canada. He'll be able to make categories based on how many years of work experience you have. This work experience is in which field, what is the level of your education, what kind of education, which background, which field of education. All these components are available now to immigration minister to make these categories in. And once they have made these categories, they can then pick and choose how many invitations they wish to issue for these people. I know it's been worrying a lot of people, because that basically means the regular express entry draws as we know it, where the highest CRS score has been picked without any other criteria, would basically be out of the window. In my opinion, how I see it happening is that, and again, also my opinion is based on a little bit of what I've heard in terms of what Sean Fraser has said in one of the articles in National Post. It came that this Bill C-19 and the categories within Bill C-19s will basically not replace the current express entry system, but will complement it. It basically means, if I have to believe what he's saying, or if I've understood it correctly, what it means is that the current express entry draw system will continue the way it is. The new category-based draws will be held simultaneously, which basically means that if they have to issue 3,500 invitations, they may choose to issue 1,000 invitations under the express entry, the regular generic draws. So top scoring profiles, all kind of profiles, first 1,000 will get invitation. The next 1,000 will be for people who are Francophones, whose intended province of residence is, or intended province in Canada is British Columbia. The remaining 500 will go to people who have job offers. The remaining, whatever, I think what 1,000 is left, remaining thousands, or rather inside 1,000, remaining 1,000 invitations, they will give it to IT, accounts, HR, professional managements or professional managers, etc., etc. So it could be any, I'm just giving you on top of my head, could be any of these NOC codes. And that is how a draw might start looking like. My opinion, please do not hold me to that. I'm just basing it on what I read, what I hear. So this is what the expectation may be. At this point of time, I know we are expecting a draw on 6th of July. I do not expect at this point of time the changes to be made. And the reason for that is, let me share this with you, because this is always very interesting when you keep looking at these things, right? So this is the House of Commons website, Canadian, the Parliament website, which also gives the Bill C-19 and the Act to implement certain provisions of the budget table. This is the legislative summary of the bill that has been passed. And I will not waste your time going into different details. So this is the copy. You can all go back to the website. You can all take a copy of it and read through this. So first of all, I want to bring your attention to this coming into force. Now, usually when the bill is passed, there is a date given to it as to from when does it become effective. The Bill C-19, when it was given the royal assent, did not have a date as to when it becomes effective, which basically means it could be made effective at a later date once the Senate decides, or as it has been indicated in the bill itself, that the bill clause 376 provides that the provisions of Bill C-19 related to replacing the term and associate judge may come into the force on the date to be fixed by order in council. Now, it basically could indicate that specific areas of the bill will come into force on the day that is fixed by the order of council. That is number one. Number two is also that once the Senate is back into the parliament, which is in the month of September after the summer research. They can then come and agree when the date would be to bring this into action. Or since the bill has now passed, and I honestly haven't read every single word, every single detail of the bill. My attention has always been on the immigration aspect of the bill. There could be some component over there which indicates when this might come into force. At this point of time, though the bill has been passed, the bill has received the royal assent, the date of implementation has not been identified at this point of time. I don't know what the date would be. So, but I am not expecting this to be implemented immediately, like today, yesterday, tomorrow. I expect some time there, and therefore I do not expect this to affect the July draw or the July, August, September draw. If at all, I'm expecting and I'm anticipating this to be in the months of October's, November's. Also, the reason why I'm saying November is because, and for people obviously who want to read this, you can always come back and take a look at this. So I'm just going to take this off. And the reason why I'm saying the month of October, November is because in the month of November also, the new tier system will come back into play. Will not come back, but rather will be initiated into play. So the near tier system is the NOC 2021 system, which replaces the current NOC system, which is NOC 2016, which we're using. So if you are, for example, NOC 1111, which is accountants, you will then have a new NOC, which corresponds to the NOC 1111, and you will have to sort of make changes in your express entry if the system already doesn't do that for you automatically. Because the new NOC numbers will be announced, then also there is also this expectation that is when they will make these changes. Not only that, there is one more small thing which is indicated here, and that is in this particular bill, there is a requirement whereby immigration minister has to inform the parliament about the new categories. And this is, where did I go? Okay, hold on. I seem to have lost that particular page. Anyways, it's just about here whereby the minister has to announce these details in the parliament at the time, at the start of the year, announcing which categories they will be announcing, which categories. Sorry, here it is. That's the actual bill. Let me just make it bigger here so we can all see it together. And Division 23. Didn't expect that. Sorry. There you go. Amendments to the Act. And I am referring to the clause where, for the purpose of establishing the categories of eligible foreign national, the minister must engage in public consultation process with stakeholders, including provinces and territories, unions, employers, workers, advocacy groups. And based on this, he can then identify the categories. And these categories will have to be, the minister shall cause to be tabled before each House of Parliament not later than the 5th sitting day of the House after January 31st. He has to indicate the list, or rather he has to indicate the numbers of the categories, what categories they are, what kind of goals they will establish. All that information the minister has to indicate. So this is what I was missing here. Where did it go? It should have been here. Okay, for whatever reason, I'm not able to find that page right now, but you basically get a gist of what I'm trying to say. So the minister has to come out, has to disclose the categories, and I'm hoping that they do that, because without that information, this is going to get very, very tricky. We won't really know what categories they are looking at. So I hope that we do this. I mean, I hope the minister does this. And because of this, that the minister hasn't still, or rather IRCC still hasn't identified which categories those will be. Therefore, my expectation is that this would be probably towards the end of the year. And probably it might actually move to the next year after they have announced or tabled these categories in the parliament and as per what has been amended. So these are the reasons why the expectation is towards the end of the year, later next year. Fingers crossed. Let's see how that goes. But these are the changes that will definitely come into play. They will be implemented. They will be initiated. And with this, the face of express entry will change for sure. For good or for bad, we have to wait and see. But what it does is, and I know a lot of people are quite apprehensive about the new Bill C-19, and they're thinking that this will make it more difficult for them. On the contrary, at this point of time, basically only the top ranking profiles get selected, right? So your age makes you lose points, your work experience has no value. After a point, your education, even if you have double masters, there is no value for it, right? But this categories is going to change that. For example, if they choose to invite somebody who is a specific professional in a specific field, then the age is not going to really matter, because if they can identify that there are only 100 of those in the express entry pool, they will invite all 100 of them if they need 100 of them. Similarly, the age will stop mattering. So even if your score is 400, even if your score is 390, 380, then you will have an opportunity there depending on your occupation, depending on your education, depending on the years of experience you've had. So therefore, the good idea would be, and that's my next subject that I wanted to talk to you about, is have your express entry profile in the express entry pool. It's very, very important. One, because obviously the draws are resuming, so you should have your express entry profile already, all updated, all valid. So if your IELTS have expired, please retake your IELTS. If your ECAs have expired, please make sure you have a new ECA. If your work experience has not been updated, please make sure you have updated your work experience. Your primary knock code is correct. Your knock code of your different work experiences you have in your profile, that is all correct, because we don't know. For all you know, Bill C-19 again can get implemented at any point of time, and you might just get picked out because of your work experience that you indicated in your express entry profile. All these will make a big difference, and if you do not have an express entry profile, you're not even giving yourself a chance. At least with an express entry profile in the pool, you still have a chance, whether it's with an Alberta PNP draw or with a draw that will happen from express entry. So please make sure you have your express entry profile all ready and all shining and all updated, because that is going to be a big, big difference. For people who are already expecting the invitations within the first, second, third, fourth draw, please, by all means, do start preparing your applications, preparing your documents. Police clearances, that takes time. If you haven't gotten them, please get them. If you're inside Canada, you have to get a police clearance from outside Canada. Please initiate the process right now. It can take some time. Those police clearance, because you're getting it from outside those countries, will remain valid until your next visit to those countries. So please absolutely get applying for those police clearances. If you have to approach your employers who are in different countries, different places, different locations, start getting that job rolling and getting those reference letters prepared and ready. If you need proof of funds, make sure all the funds are available already. Documents are all there. If you have to get your gift deeds, etc., whatever documentation you need, make sure they're all ready to go. Because once you get your ITA, you should basically then be able to submit your application pretty quickly. And by going by, again, Sean Fraser's word, the processing times will come back to the standard processing time. So all the applications that are being submitted now would now expect 6 months standard processing time for express entry, which basically means by the end of the year, before the end of the year, you could very well become permanent residents of Canada. So there you go. That's all good news that I had for you today. Very exciting, very, very promising. As I said, as we move forward, we will keep bringing you such information. And if you're still here, smash the like button. Okay, it's important, because then the video goes out to more and more and more people. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because we want to see those numbers going up. I mean, how many channels do you know who are such rich with content and credible as far as Canadian immigration is concerned? So please do that. Somebody's asking, can you talk about the backlogs? Yes, the backlogs are sitting at 2.4 million people at this point of time. We did make a video already, just published it yesterday. Express entry numbers are the only positive thing within the backlogs. In the month of May, they cleared out roughly 7,000, or was it 9,000? I keep forgetting. 7,000 or 8,000 people within the express entry itself. About 1,500 CECs and almost 7,000 people from the federal skilled worker. So they are issuing passport requests. They are clearing those profiles out. They are clearing out those applications. At this point of time, roughly about 30,000 people remain in those backlogs, which is quite good to be able to say. And the fact that they will continue processing those applications. We have the month of June, we have the month of July, we have the month of August before the new applications or the deluge of new applications comes back flowing to IRCC offices. So all this is pretty good, and this is going to indicate that these applications will also get processed faster. Because if I only look at them processing 7,000 to 9,000 people every month, and they have roughly 30,000 remaining, which basically tells me within the next 4 months they can actually clear most of these people out. Yes, IRCC has maintained that they will be looking to clear 80% of the applications within the standard processing time of 6 months. Obviously, there are applications which are more complicated, complex, which needs much more time to process, and those will usually always take more time. But most applications, if you have everything sorted out, then you would be able to get that cleared sooner than later. So that's the backlog. Okay. I think you missed Mr. Fraser's interview with CIC News, guys. No, I did not miss anything. I watched all of these with a lot of interest. Actually, let's not get into the details of that. I know what he said about making the categories. I understand what the categories are going to be. What he's telling CIC News, guys, doesn't have to be the way it plays out. At this point of time, he is making a generic conversation. He is not disclosing the exact plans. The exact plans of how the categories will be designed and how the categories will be established will be made, or rather we will come to know about them through the ATIP notes that we get for the internal memos within the IRCC. And mind you, Sean Fraser is not going to be the one who will decide on the categories. It's IRCC operations department, the think tank. Ministers, they come and they go. It's the IRCC's operations department which continue to plan further for the days and months and years to come. Okay, you will always see the internal memos. The approval is never sought from the Minister of Immigration. It is always sought from the Deputy Director or the Director or the Assistant or the Assistant Minister of Immigration, never from the Minister of Immigration. So the think tank operations department is absolutely different. They are the ones who are doing the entire planning and figuring out what needs to be done. Yes, of course, Sean Fraser is the minister and he knows what's happening and he knows what's being done. And obviously he does have a huge control on what's being said. But at the end of the day, he has a much bigger, larger portfolio as a Minister of Immigration. It is not restricted to making categories in express entry. That is not his job. Okay, he will obviously oversee it. He will make few corrections and decisions, but he's not going to get involved in actually making the categories himself. And the categories have to be made in conjunction, in consultation, in discussion with different stakeholders. That includes provinces. Now, mind you, provinces or the PNP programs is a big thing, right? This is how provinces draw people to those provinces. A lot of provinces have come out and said that they find their PNP programs to be very effective, very valuable, very efficient in drawing a lot of people to those provinces. And therefore, if express entry starts behaving or the federal program starts behaving like the PNP programs, that the PNP loses out. So therefore, PNPs have slowed down, if you haven't realized it. A lot of provinces are not announcing any invitations. For two reasons. One, they're waiting for their quotas to be announced so they can get their quotas and then they can move on with it. Number one. Number two, they are waiting to see what exactly is being finalized with federal. Now, also, for a lot of people who are wondering, okay, let's get this one out. This is being cleared. For a lot of people who are wondering what's happening with Ontario, why the draws are not happening, etc. Well, Ontario initially were having their elections, which concluded on the 2nd of June. Doug Ford is the Premier of Ontario again. He yesterday announced the cabinet for Ontario, and his nephew has been appointed. Well, you see, it happens even in Canada, these things, right? My nephew, my son will become the minister, kind of a thing. But anyways, 28-year-old, was it Michael Ford? That's the name, I think, if I'm not mistaking it right, wrong, if I'm not getting it wrong. He has been appointed as the Minister of Citizenship and Multiculturalism for Ontario. So now that the minister is in place, hopefully we should start seeing a bit better ball rolling. But I also think, and I also feel, Ontario may be holding back to see what the draws will look like once the draws do initiate or do start on the 6th of July. And from there on, they can then start going back to conducting their draws in tandem with the express entry draw. So a lot of that is obviously speculative at this point of time because nobody will ever know exactly what they're going through, what they're planning. These are all based on what we hear, what we understand. And because IRCC needs to identify the categories in conjunction, in discussion, I think a lot of this is being held back till those things are finalized. So let's hope and pray that we can start seeing those things coming to the light of the day sooner than later. Nomadic says, my wife have applied for concurrent visa together, open work permit and study on April 28. Still waiting. People say concurrent visa get rejected. Your views and timeline. I cannot give you timelines because those vary from one place wherever you applied from. So you can always check CIC processing times for different cities, countries, wherever you live. Now, as far as getting rejected is concerned, all applications can get rejected, right? If you are able to satisfy the visa officer with your intent for that particular application type, then you would get approved. If the visa officer is not convinced and you haven't been able to establish why what you're doing, then your application has a higher chance of being refused. Now, when you apply for an open work permit and study permit together, now, first of all, study permit already has a very high requirement of proof or of explanation to show why is the person wanting to study in Canada when they could have studied elsewhere. They could have studied in their home country. What is the purpose of study? Uh, what are their ties to home country? What are those compelling reasons the person will return back? One of those compelling reasons that the person will return back is family, spouse, children, parents, or whatever the material ties might be. Now that you are applying for yourself also in the same application means both you and your spouse will come to Canada. Now you have a bigger burden of proof to sort of establish what are the compelling reasons for both of you to return back to your home country after you finish your period of studies and your period of work. So as long as you have established or you have provided good evidence to show that you will return back, as long as you have established good reasons why you are accompanying your spouse while your spouse is studying, then in that case, your application has a good chance for being approved. I hope that helps. Ricken says, I got my PCC from last year, haven't been back to India yet, so do I need another PCC or that would work if I got an ITA? Okay, I've seen a lot of these TikTok videos and a lot of YouTube videos where people confuse this thing to a great extent. Okay, and IRCC website doesn't help either because they also confuse people more with the requirement of police clearance. First of all, if your application for police, rather, if you are obtaining a police clearance from your current country of residence, wherever you're residing, whatever you're indicating as your residence, a country of residence, in that country, from that country, the police clearance is valid for 6 months unless it states otherwise on that police clearance. For example, the police clearance from UAE states very clearly that this police clearance is valid only for 3 months. Then the police clearance is valid for 3 months. But if there is no validity, for example, Indian PCC does not mention any validity date. So the police clearance from India, if your country of residence is India, is valid for 6 months. Okay. If you apply for a police clearance from a country which is not your country of residence, so for example, you are an international student who is now residing in Canada, who is applying for your police clearance from India while being in Canada through BLS, through the Indian Embassy, or you could be in the US, or you could be in the UAE, and you're applying for your police clearance from India while being outside that country, then that police clearance remains valid until your next visit to that country. Okay. And when you are submitting this police clearance, please do add a cover letter, especially if a long period has passed since you obtained your police clearance, and mention that this police clearance you obtained while you were outside that country. You haven't visited that country back. Therefore, all your period of stay in that country has been included. If IRCC still needs a new police clearance, then they can ask you for it. Please add this cover letter, and you will be able to use this police clearance, even if it is 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year old, 4 year old, 5 year old. It doesn't matter because you haven't visited that country back. It basically means that police clearance is still valid. So that is basically how police clearances should be, the validity of the police clearance should be judged. Okay. Okay. Vishwarup says, I know it's not really certain, but just wanted to gauge your hunch. Do you think the categories under C19 be knock-based? And if so, might these knock be in line with on-demand knocks across PNPs? Okay. Let's see. A lot of speculation there. First of all, the categories will not only be knock-based. Okay. I know right now a lot of people are thinking everything will be knock-based. Not necessarily. They obviously will have certain requirements for occupations, for sure. Okay, because that has been indicated in several the radio interviews or online interviews, or even the statements that yes, there would be occupation based categories, that's for sure. But that will not be the only ones, number one. Number two, to state whether the occupations will be the same as the PNPs, I can't tell you at this point of time, because it's again very difficult. Some occupations are in demand in some PNPs, may not be in demand in other PNPs. For example, IT related knocks are pretty high in demand in Ontario and in British Columbia. They may not be very high in demand in Manitoba, or they may not be very high in demand in Newfoundland and Labrador, or they may not be very high in demand in Prince Edward Island. So at the federal level, for them to be making a broad requirement of this particular knock code will, defeat the purpose if they are encouraging migration towards the other provinces. So while the occupation based requirement is going to be there, as I said, a lot of discussion will have to be held with the stakeholders. Okay, stakeholders being the different provinces, stakeholders being different trade organizations, stakeholders being your advocacy groups of different occupations. All of them will have to be brought into all of them have to give their written submissions to the minister to sort of say that this is what we feel, these are the numbers, these are the statistics, these are the data. That's the reason why these occupations should be included in the category based draw. I'm hoping that they are announced in advance so that people can then plan and prepare for their immigration pathways as they move forward. Also, people should take into consideration the fact that if you are inside Canada, there is another pathway that IRCC is looking to develop and design. It was part of their mandate letter. It was reinforced in Motion M44 by Randeep Sarai. And then Sean Fraser has come out and said that he is indeed in the works, and IRCC is looking to design, develop another pathway for international students and foreign workers. No details are available. Nothing has been mentioned. Nothing has been specified. Obviously, a lot of speculations, because this is what happens, right? When they don't come out and give any clarity or communicate clearly, then all we can do is speculate. But for international students, foreign workers, there should definitely be another pathway, which may be announced towards the end of the year, towards the later part of the year. I'm not saying that pathway will be available to you immediately, but that is going to sit in line with the fact that they are going to be extending the work permits of international workers who are postgraduate work permits, international students who have the work permits. They will be extending the work permits for another 18 months. So if they are extending for another 18 months and then going to be announcing a new pathway towards the end of the year, it's all going to sync and add up. So I won't be surprised if the new immigration levels plan, which will be announced in October, November, again for the next year of 2023, 2024, 2025, will see more changes to accommodate the new pathway, the new program. And I'm not sure where they're going to make those changes, what they will cut out. But it seems like, again, FHS, federal high skilled categories, might take a hit on those numbers. But again, we have to wait and watch how that goes. Mayor says, received PPR last week. Excellent. Congratulations. Incredible. Thanks for all the wonderful advice and consultations we've had. My company has offered me a work from home role. Can I do it as Saskatchewan nominated candidate if the office is in Ontario? Yes, you can. The requirement for your PNP is for you to reside in a specific province. So as long as you're residing in that province, but you're working from home for a different from a different province, for an employer who's in different province, it should not be a problem at all, because as I said, the requirement is very, very specific to maintain your residence in the province, not otherwise. Rajan Dal says, so according to you, does grouping mean to FSW candidate? This is very, very tricky thing to make economic impact. FSW are required. If grouping act like PNP, job offer required. I am absolutely sure one of the groupings would be to include people who have job offers, because if they will not include that category of people who have job offers in Canada, they are removing a big chunk of process that they have already made provisions for. For example, ESDC, Employment Social Development of Canada, Service Canada, has this huge department which processes LMIAs. Now, if you're not going to allow those people to become part of the category, then you are completely removing those people from the whole pool, which is going to have a huge impact. So they cannot remove that, obviously. As far as FSW groupings is concerned, it's going to be a big impact for FSW because, as I said earlier, a lot of those occupations or a lot of people whose age was the biggest hurdle in them not being able to score high CRS scores, who are getting restricted because of their age, will now have an opportunity that if their occupation is considered as in demand, if their knock is something which they are considered as in demand, then even with the age on the higher side, even if the CRS score on the lower side, they may still have an opportunity to be invited. That is where the biggest difference will happen. Okay, let's. Minister has clearly stated that even if C19 gets royal assent, he will need to consult with other provinces, industry leaders to determine the categories. Another sign that it might be delayed. Yes, I agree with you on that. As I said, that Bill C19 has just received the royal assent on the 23rd, on the night at 10 p.m. in the night of the 23rd of June. It's too early. It hasn't been implemented. The act has not come into effect. At least if it would come into effect, you will be able to see the text of ERPA. You can always go back to the ERPA website and you can see that the text would have changed. This morning when I checked, it hasn't changed at this point of time, which basically means they do. Even if the text changes and you know that the ERPA has now been amended and the Immigration Act has now been changed, even after that, before making those categories, they do have to consult. Now, you and I, we do not know if the consultations are already happening or they have happened. Okay, because they knew the bill is going to pass. You saw with the speed how quickly the bill has moved forward between the month of May and June. They absolutely rammed it and made sure it went through, very quickly. So are these consultations already ongoing? Is this one of the reasons why the PNP draws across all provinces have basically almost come to a standstill? Ontario has not been holding any draws, or rather has been holding very small draws of in-province candidates. Alberta has just come to a grinding halt. Very few numbers coming out from there. Saskatchewan, very, very few draws, nothing much happening from there. Nova Scotia, nothing at all. New Brunswick put their entire express entry stream on pause. So, across the provinces, there have been a bit of a slowdown in all the PNP programs. Could this be one of the reasons? I don't know. I'm just thinking, could this be one of the reasons that the consultations are already ongoing? They're already discussing as to what categories they need to bring into play. I know for a fact trucking lobby, or the trucking group, or the group of organizations that are involved in the trucking jobs, or the truck drivers in Canada, they have been lobbying aggressively. Thankfully, their knock code is now part of Tier 3 in the new knock system, and Tier 3 will now become eligible. And because Tier 3 will become eligible, truck drivers will become eligible in express entry. That now gives Sean Fraser, or rather IRCC, a big, it's a tool for them now to sort of pick only truck drivers and give them invitations, regardless of what the CRS score is. Okay? Or even if the CRS score is very low. So I won't be surprised if I see a score of 250 for truck drivers. Okay. It's quite possible. Now, if you are a truck driver, if at all you're a truck driver, this is very, very important that you have to understand and have to note. First of all, make sure you get your IELTS in order. Okay, you have to score CLB 5. Even if you have Canadian work experience, you have to score CLB 5 because of you're not being in Tier 3. You don't need CLB 7. Okay, that's the first thing. Number 2, you have to be an employee. You cannot be a self-incorporated individual. You cannot be a person who is working for themselves, self-employed. A lot of truck drivers are incorporated themselves, who are working as self-employed. So basically, what they get from their employers or the trucking companies is not a paycheck. What they get is a check for this invoice they have issued. Therefore, their work experience as truck driver is ineligible under the express entry. So if you're a truck driver, please make sure, if you haven't thought about it yet, please make sure you get your work experience and you establish a relation as an employer-employee with your employer. You should get pay stubs. You should get T4s. You should get notice of assessments. If you leave the job, you should get ROE, record of employment. Very, very important. Take your paycheck, take your salary on your SIN number. If you don't, then your work experience will not be considered as eligible. But this was a side note. I'm sorry about that, but this had to be indicated at this point of time so we can get that out of the way. Excuse me. Panki Patel, I have a file for divorce currently in CEC pool. My question is, should I change my status to legally separated until divorce is finalized? And also a number of family members, should I change it to 1? Yes, you can do that because if you will not show as legally separated, then you will need to provide your spouse's documents. If you are undergoing divorce, you will have to provide information to IRCC that you are undergoing divorce. You will have to provide all your divorce documents. You will have to show that you are not you are legally separated. The problem is that legal separation is not considered as a valid civil status in India. And if you are in India, you cannot get a separation agreement attested by the court. And therefore, you're either divorced or you're married. So until your divorce has been completed, until your divorce has been established, unfortunately, your application will not be processed further. So please, of course, in your application, you can change your status to legally separated for the time being. Show your family size as one, proof of fund requirement will be as one. And when you are asked for documents, you will have to give detailed description, detailed explanation about your relationship status, provide whatever documents you can with regards to your ongoing divorce, and let IRCC know that once you get the divorce decree, you will provide that as well, and then change the status to divorced. What is the minimum time after ITA that it takes to submit a profile and get an AOR? You get 60 days. Once you receive an invitation, you will get 60 days to submit the application. Once you submit the application, hopefully 6 months is the processing time. From there on, that would be ongoing. Okay, how to apply? Okay, how to apply? The website is cic.gc.ca. Go on to that website. You will be able to see a link of immigrating to Canada. Follow that link. You will be able to check the requirements of express entry, and then from there on, you will be able to establish. You know what? Let me just also put for you this link. Right. Okay, here is this link. Go onto my website. That is the link that has a step-by-step details of express entry. You can take a look at that. Even if you were to apply for PNP programs, in most programs, in PNP programs, also you would need some of these steps anyways, for example, and that includes the evaluation of your education and your language skills. So yeah, hop onto my website, take a look at that, take a look at this link, express entry link, and also obviously go to the IRCC website, cic.gc.ca, and you will be able to establish how you can apply for immigration in Canada. I have 2 years of experience and about to complete my 1-year course in August and not planning to take second course. My score should come up to 490. Should I go ahead and do it or take second course? Well, the decision to take second course is entirely yours. As far as what you can do in terms of the scores and in terms of the trends and speculations, I think we went into quite a detail to discuss that. So yeah, that would give you an idea what to expect. I think about 4 draws to expect 490. Sorry, 2 draws, 2.5 draws to expect 490. Twinkle says, if I'm working for my father's business firm and getting paid for it, would it be counted as valid work experience in express entry? Yes, absolutely. Working for your father is not a crime. I mean, that's absolutely fine. Unless that experience is not genuine, then that's a different story. But absolutely, working for your father is absolutely fine, absolutely legal. You will just need to prove that you are working for your father. That's what you will need to do. Vishal says, yesterday I got ghost update twice. I'm curious to know what this means. Both medical and biometrics have already been updated in my account 2 months ago. Well, a lot of people think ghost updates means approval or application is around the corner. Well, the thing is, the current GC key or the current system that they have, that they're using, the global case management system, it has very limited options in their user interface to show you what they are doing on the background. So any changes that they make in your application, any updates they make in your application, any steps that they have taken in your application, it triggers an alert which comes to you as a ghost update. But there is no corresponding user interface update. There is no update on the dashboard that you are seeing that it can reflect. And therefore, nothing comes up and all you see is a ghost update. So that is what ghost update means. It does not necessarily mean anything good or bad or anything at all. It just basically means certain actions were taken on your application on the back end for which there is no corresponding status to show, and therefore you get a ghost update. Will postgraduate work permit extension be given for people who have transitioned to another status like visitor or closed work permit? How about people who have returned to home country after postgraduate work permit expiry? People who have returned back to their home countries, unfortunately, they will have zero advantage from this. They will not be able to apply for this. This is just like all other public policies that have happened in the past. If you have transitioned to other status, you may not be eligible, especially if you've transitioned to a closed work permit. If you have transitioned to a visitor, then there is a high possibility that you may also be included, because there are people who have been in Canada since September. If their work permits had expired, they had no other option or choice but to change their status to a visitor. So they may also get a provision here. If you have returned back to your home country, I am doubtful, but we have to wait and watch and see what IRCC discloses or announces whenever they do announce the criteria. Okay. My COPR city of destination is Edmonton. I want to land and settle in Calgary. Will it be a problem at the airport? No, there is no problem. You can land in any city in Canada. There is no problem. As long as your intention is to reside in the province that has nominated you. In your case, you're arriving in Edmonton or you want to settle in Calgary, there is no problem. Edmonton and Calgary both are part of Alberta. You will have no problems whatsoever. There is no issues. I have more than 8 years of experience in different companies in the same knock. Should I list everything in Express Entry, or just 3 years should be fine? Well, all this time we were always of the opinion that 6 years of work experience, continuous work experience, gives you the highest eligibility points. 3 years of work experience will give you the points for your CRS score. If you wish to sort of mention all your 8 years of work experience, even if it is the same knock, you can. The points at this point of time, as we know, the point system is they will be limited to 3 years for CRS, 6 years for eligibility. I was unable to add some work history on my immigration form as there are limited space and it is asking for 10 years. Will this be tagged as misrepresentation? Well, depending on what kind of immigration forms you're talking about, because if there is no space on the immigration forms, you can always take a blank paper, type out your experience in the same format as has been listed on the immigration and merge it together or upload it through client information. So basically that is not the reason or excuse to say I did not disclose my work experience. But depending on your application type, it may or may not be an issue. Okay, coming down to some more questions here. Aliosman says, work experience gains during study in Canada doesn't make us eligible for CEC. Can this work experience give us point for FSW stream? You can get points while you're working in study. You can claim eligibility points for Federal Skilled Worker Program for the work experience that you gained while studying in Canada. You cannot take those points for CRS in any circumstance there. Okay. How much fund is needed for Express Entry to get PR? Can Canadian salary be considered for this? Well, Canadian salary can add to your proof of fund requirement, but proof of fund requirement is only for Federal Skilled Worker Program and Federal Skilled Trade Category Program. It is not required for CEC. So if you're indicating Canadian salary, I'm assuming you have Canadian work experience, which could basically mean you might be eligible under Canadian experience class, for which you do not need any proof of funds. I got job offer from British Columbia, but employer says he cannot sponsor and figure out your visa or work permit. Is there a way out with mere job offer? Irfan, yes, what you can do is you can head over to the British Columbia website, their PNP website, and check the requirements and eligibility under the BC PNP draws under the skilled category and Express Entry BC. You can create your profile on the website on British Columbia. And if your score is high enough, if your points are high enough, you may get invited. Obviously, your employer should have made sufficient recruitment efforts to find this individual in Canada before making you the job offer. If they have done that, if it's an eligible employer, then that employer can support your application within the PNP. And if they can, then yeah, you can apply for nomination and then move from there on. What are the chances for PR for PhD candidate teaching experience 8 years? I'm sorry, I cannot give you any chances on this live right now. What you need to do is you need to check individual provincial nominee programs and see where your occupation could be in demand and what your chances could be for that particular province. And you can also check the Express Entry to see what your scores there are. I'd like to know if the global talent stream is of dual intent. Could I use this for both work permit and Express Entry? Well, yes, you should be able to, unless it indicates specifically that your LMIA is only for permanent resident. If it is dual intent, it would basically be then your employer should also give you a job offer. The job offer should specifically include a clause which says that this job offer is valid for 1 year after you become PR. That is what will make that job offer as valid, and you can definitely take that for 50 points in your application. Nishant says, thanks, Kubeir, for all your guidance. Cause of you, we 35 plus age couple are able to secure Ontario nomination on the 16th of Feb. Got our PPR this week. IRCC did goof up. First PPR asking Indian resident to submit passport in Islamabad. Well, congratulations. I am so happy that you were able to secure your nomination and your passport request. So happy for you. Congratulations. Wish you all the very best ahead. I have received my work permit extension letter. I have to travel urgently to India. Can I raise the stamping request from there? What you can do is you can submit your application immediately right now while you're in India. If you get the approval, you will be able to get your stamping done while you're in India. There is no problem for that as well. Okay, I've lost a few questions there. Abdul Karim, thank you, but I don't see any questions there. Karthi, thank you. No questions there. Can someone tell me what happens if an officer fails to provide reasons for denial? It has been 4 months. I am absolutely not sure what we are referring to. What kind of denial? What kind of an application fails to provide reasons? I'm not sure what reasons we are talking about. So a lot of confusion there for me. I was refused a visit visa for financial reason and ties reasons. Then I explained my situation and approved my visa in a following application. Will that affect my chances at EE? My life changed since. Well, I hope your life changed for better, first of all. No, it will not have any impact on your applications in Express Entry. Don't worry about it. Okay, scrolling down, a lot of repeated questions. Over 200,000 Express Entry applications are in backlog. You say only 30,000 Express Entry are left for 6 July onwards. What is the difference? Okay, you're obviously confusing few things here. The people in the pool, there are 200,000. Let's take a look at this. There are 220,674 people in the Express Entry pool. Now, the people who are in the pool are just in the pool. They are waiting for ITA, invitation to apply. The 30,000 that I'm referring to had in the past received an invitation to apply. They have submitted their PR application. They are now waiting to get the approval for their PR application so that they can get the visa on their passport and then they can take a flight, come to Canada and become permanent residents. There's a huge difference. Those 200,000 people have not received an invitation. The 30,000 people are waiting for approval of their application. Very big difference. Absolutely not to be confused with each other. I hope that helps you understand what I was saying. Karthi, thank you. When I came as a PR through Express Entry, can I bring my 6 years old kid with me? But my husband will be in India until he gets spouse visa. Yes, you can. There is no problem. If your child was not included in your application, you can include it at any point. You include the child at any point of time. If you included the child in the beginning, make sure your spouse signs the document number IMM 5604. That document also needs to be attested. So make sure you get that done and your child can come with you. There is no problem. Absolutely no issues there. Can it be dual intent if spouse open work permit is ongoing and we want to apply for open work permit as per recent policy for TR to PR, accompanying outland spouse, any better alternative to reunite? Well, I do not know your conditions there, and you're mentioning about a lot of different things in your application. But yes, if you already have one open work permit in process and you want to apply for another one under a different policy, you can do that. There is no problem whatsoever in that either. What is the reason for not getting the passport request even after 3 months of passing the re-medicals? Well, first of all, there is nowhere does it say that you have to get your passport request within 3 months of re-medicals. Where does it say that? IRCC definitely doesn't say that. Requirement of your medicals was to initiate the furtherance of your, they had to take your application further. Your medicals had expired. They asked you for re-medicals. Just because they asked you for re-medicals did not mean the next day they would also issue your passport request. So your application is in progress. At the point of time when your application comes up for the next review with the corresponding visa officer, then hopefully if everything is good in your application, you should get your passport request. I can't have I can't have HV. I do not have H month. I'm sorry, I don't understand those acronyms at all. Visitor visa are taking so long and look like a black box where you put something and the forget. Any comment on this? Will there be mass rejections as TRV are so many these days? Well, I am quite concerned about that as well. There are more than 750,000 people who are waiting for decisions on their visit visa application. The number is huge. And as is known with IRCC, and there is a lot of precedence there, that when the numbers get out of hand, IRCC is known to have cancelled applications or issue bulk refusals as well, or bulk rejections as well. They've done it in the past. They've done it in 2008, they've done it in 2012, they've done it in 2014 as well. So I won't be surprised if they do that again, because especially with the visit visa applications, they might cancel, they might refund the fee, or they might simply reject a lot of applications. They simply cannot overcome the amount of backlog that has been created for visit, because the problem is that more and more people are continuing to apply for visit visa. It's not like they are not taking any new applications. It's not like they will first process the old ones, then they will take the new one. They are the ones who came out on the 7th of September and said, okay, everybody who has applied before 7th of September, please reapply. We will consider the newer applications while we are also looking at the old one. So they have created the mess out of this one. And I won't be surprised if they actually cancel the old TRB applications. It's quite possible. I mean, knowing IRCC, this is something which they have known, they have done in the past as well. Work visa can be possible. Yes, it's absolutely possible. You need to find an employer who will then process an LMIA for you if you are not an LMIA exempt. And once you have the LMIA, then you would be able to apply for a work permit. Would it be okay if I don't disclose the ongoing education loan in the salary account and show proof of funds in other savings account from India? What you're asking me is that, is it okay to commit misrepresentation? I can't tell you that you should be doing that, right? So if IRCC is categorically asking you to disclose all your liabilities, then you should. If it is found out otherwise, then you will get into a bigger trouble. The best thing is, disclose your liability. There is no problem in disclosing your liability. Just provide a payment plan. Just show how are you planning to pay for your liability, and that's absolutely fine. IRCC just needs to know that you have sufficient funds for your settlement in Canada. If your education loan, you do not know how to settle that, get an affidavit from your father, from your mother, from your parent, from your brother, from your sister, which says that this person is paying the education loan monthly from their salaries, and in case this person migrates to Canada, I will take over the liability. I will be responsible for this liability. That's good enough, right? That works. Confused as to whether trainee solicitors, lawyers fall under the NOC 4112 or 4211. Duties in reference letter matches both. Shall I apply? And if rejected, reapply. Hard decision. Well, if you are a lawyer, then you will choose the NOC code for lawyer. Even if the duties and responsibilities may seem similar, what you need to take a look at, and let's quickly jump onto this. I'm not going to take too many more questions because we're running out of time. So very quickly doing this one. So I'm on the NOC screen. Let's look at the NOC table 2016. Okay, and we're looking at 412. Oh, I got the wrong screen. Hold on. Oh, why am I not getting the right screen? Just hold on a bit. Where did we go? Wow. Okay, I'm jumping onto the wrong websites. Just give me 1 second till I figure this out in one quick moment. Okay, now we have it here. 4112, you said lawyers and Quebec notaries. If we quickly just take this off. Now, in this NOC code, what you need to be taking care of, very, very importantly, is the lead statement. This is the lead statement. Okay. Now, similarly, if I also take a look at paralegals. And the knock code is this one. This is the lead statement. Now, if you think that your duties and responsibilities, which are here, okay, paralegals assist lawyers. Okay, if you are a lawyer yourself, then you're not assisting lawyers. You yourself are the lawyer. Under the supervision of lawyer, prepare wills and real estate. If you are the lawyer, then you are not. You yourself are supervising other paralegals. Assist lawyers in preparation for mediation. So again, this is paralegals are assisting the lawyers. Lawyers are not assisting themselves or assisting somebody else. So you need to make a clear distinction within the lawyers 4112. There is no assisting another lawyer. It is all talking about actually performing a duty as a lawyer. So I think it's quite, I mean, paralegals and lawyers are not the same. There's a clear distinction between the two. What you need to do is check the duties and responsibilities again, and more importantly, check the basic lead statement right on the top, the summary of the knock, which will be able to give you more clarity as to what you need to do with regards to your knock choice there. Mahir, thank you for super chat. I don't see any question there, unfortunately. Rahul says, my family got a COPR, have to travel by September end. Me being primary applicant would travel. However, due to unavoidable circumstances, my baby and spouse won't be able to travel. Any possible of extension? Well, you can apply for extension. The chances of extension are quite low. IRCC will not extend COPRs unless there is a very, very serious emergency. And it's on their discretion as to what they will accept as an emergency or not. What is the best source to calculate the conversion rate? You can head over to the Bank of Canada website, Bank of Canada exchange rates website, and you can use that. And that is the best way to sort of, take a look at what is the exchange rate. So yeah, this is the Bank of Canada website. If you check the daily exchange rates or the monthly exchange rate, put the conversion, put the currency, you can calculate this, or rather you can use this for your calculation for your proof of funds, if that is what you are asking about. Oh, we did this. All right, looks like we have most of the questions. A lot of questions are being repeated. Anyways, thank you so much for joining in. And it was nice to sort of discuss all these things. Sometimes I learn a lot while I'm also doing this and talking to you about it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, please. Too, we want to see those numbers going up. It's always motivating to see those numbers going up, right? If you're not following us on Instagram, then please do. If you wish to make an appointment with me to discuss your application, your profile, your background, your concerns, your queries one-on-one, then that is the link. This one, that is the link. Yes, please, by all means, do make an appointment. We can always get into more details of the crux of the matter there. And as I said again, subscribe. That would be nice to see. Thank you very much for joining in today. Wish you all the best, and I shall see you soon. And don't forget to tune in for our live on the 6th of July when we dance and sing when when the ex-president draws will resume.